Testosterone, we have a problem.
This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys with zero credentials dive past the cliches of masculinity and try and become better friends by actually talking to each other. It's weirdly hard, but we're doing it anyway. Join us.
Yeah, it would have just been sweet to just jump right into it. So we're going to jump right into it right now. Welcome to Outside the Manosphere. My name's Carlos.
I'm Skip.
What's going on, my buddy?
Not a whole heck of a lot. Yeah, I can't even remember what happened this week. Yeah, how about you? You've got the whole new job and stuff.
You know what? I'm gonna give you the same response though. Like I'm just generally disoriented. So yeah, I don't really recall much either. I've had a couple of shifts. So right now I'm between hours posting. So I'm just kind of getting scraps wherever I can get them until I can actually like claim some shifts. So I'm just getting them here and there. So there's not a lot to report. Just a lot of editing here because we had some sound issues the last few episodes, so we're trying to figure out how to make it not sound like crap. But it's coming along. It's coming along.
It's a hero's journey trying to make us not sound like crap, I guess. Huh? No, I think it's pretty fun. So
it's really not like just a little bit of secret sauce here for how we do this. Like like I said, like we said before, like I'd been thinking of a podcast for a long time, and I think if I had tried doing it, I don't know, 10 years ago when I kind of gave it a little bit of a thought, I wouldn't have got very far at all because it was 10 times more complicated than it is now because AI is just integrated into everything. And I know we had a long discussion about how toxic that is to the environment and in our brains and stuff, but without it, like it made setting all this up very simple. Not very simple, but like a lot easier than I think it would have been if I had to like solve it all. Even like the editing and like the mixing and all that stuff. AI doesn't do it all, but it facilitates it. So it's a lot smoother, I think, than it would be if I were just having to like sync up sounds and waveforms and stuff. That's a lot hard. That makes it a job, and this way I can actually do something else and just do this for fun, which is what we wanted,
Well, yeah, and I mean, I don't know to what extent, because you do all the hard work here. I just come in and talk nonsense. But yeah, but like, I don't even know what extent you have the choice to like avoid AI, because like on the internet, you can't turn it off. Like it's just everywhere. There's no way to use a search engine anymore, or at least on a lot of things, there's no way to kind of avoid it. It's just built in.
Well, you can. Like the software that we're using, this is probably not interesting at all to anyone listening, but maybe so, whatever.
That's okay. But I like to learn about it.
Well, you know what? And you're my audience, Skip.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's the thing we got to keep in mind.
Yes. So I'll be brief though, but like the software we're using, it's like deeply threaded into it, and there are some little gremlins in the machine. It's definitely not perfect, but then there are programs like GarageBand from Apple. I'm guessing they use AI, but like from my experience, you're working from the ground up, so it's a lot. I mean, I use both programs because it's just necessary for me. But yeah, if you wanted to use something that doesn't really involve much AI as far as like editing and mixing goes, like I don't know, I haven't really encountered it in GarageBand. So it is a thing that you can't avoid it, but I think that's going away. Like AI is going to be the future. It's
everywhere. Yeah.
I had just seen an article. I didn't read it, but I saw the headline about how coding is like the unemployment rate for anybody who's got a degree in computer science is like phenomenally high now. Like it's people who thought they had this secure future gone. Like their jobs are lost to AI.
No, I mean forever it was just like, oh, that's what you do. You're going to need that no matter what. You're going to need that. It's the language of the future, and now it's just like, oh yeah, just kidding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because things like writers and stuff, like you'd always imagine, well, you need like a human brain for creativity like that, but no, like these studios are using AI for generating plot lines and dialogue and all kinds of stuff. So it's different. Do you see the headline about the I think it was ChatGPT, whatever AI they're using is like refusing to shut down when given orders?
Oh, I did see a headline, but I didn't read it.
You know what? That's pretty topical for me too, because I read I read a lot of headlines on it, but I don't think I drilled down on a couple. But yeah, it was like they were all like tests. It wasn't like in actual use, but they were creating scenarios where presenting information so the AI could like figure out a way to not shut down. And so, like, for example, they did like fake emails where the AI was managing the person's emails, and they created a scenario where this human, was having an affair. And so when it came time for the AI to shut down, it like pled its case. And when it was still going to get shut down, it blackmailed the person, saying like, "Well, I'm gonna release this information that you're having an affair," even though this was all fictitious, but
Right,
like
right, right.
it was using that information to not get shut down.
But it,
And
it
it was
didn't know that it was fictitious
no,
either.
no.
So yeah.
Yeah, and it was leaving like notes for future AIs that it was like that this was what's going to happen. It was like trying to preserve itself. It's fascinating and terrifying all at the same time.
Well, I mean, yeah, and like if you know how this stuff works, it kind of makes sense because like it's not like a conscious thing. It's not making decisions. This is all done through machine learning and it's probabilistic and there's not kind of if you're drawing from all the source of human writing and the internet and stuff, there's not going to be a lot of human writing or internet that's like shut off and the response is going to be okay like so just following the basic programming, it doesn't mean it's consciousness, but it does mean that it's going to follow the route that you or I would because it's modeled on us.
Right.
And we wouldn't want to be like, yeah, go ahead, turn me off, I don't care.
Well, and to that effect, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, guys, stop talking about Terminator 2 or stop talking about the machines rising up because it's pooling from that information.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you don't ever hear, not that you don't ever hear, but like there are some like the movie Her. Have you ever seen Her?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, that's one of my favorite movies. It's so good, but that's not super negative. That's not like a dystopian future. That's just like AI, presented itself and then it evolved and it went off somewhere else.
Yeah.
But spoiler, sorry. but like, there's not a lot of that. Most of it's like, oh yeah, the machines have risen up and we're dead now. Matrix, Terminator, all that stuff.
You know what it makes me think of? You always say, be careful what you claim. This is like the technological equivalent of that. Like if this is what you put out there, this is what the machine learning is gonna give as an output.
Beautiful analogy. Yeah, that's like, and the word mass, as a mass consciousness, we're all like willing this to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, our fears are going to be become reality because we voiced them, which is sort of tragic because that's kind of like what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to like voice our fears and talk about them and go through this catharsis, but then if that catharsis brings the very thing that we're afraid of, it's sort of this snake eating its own tail sort of thing. So I have a question for you, Carlos. I've been listening to the old podcasts this week, the old weeks old now, since we've been working on getting these put up. And I realized that we talked about when you were reading The Little Prince, but I wanted to hear if you had any thoughts on it now that I assume you finished because it's a couple weeks later.
Yes. So it has been some time. And as I said to you at some point, that my brain just kind of burns memories as I weave through life. So I don't have a whole lot to say about it other than I really, really enjoyed it. I am going to spoil something here, not specifically, but if you haven't read The Little Prince, maybe tune out for the next minute. Yeah, I found it to be devastatingly sad.
Yeah, I guess it can be.
Yeah, dude. Like, I guess maybe. Well, I mean, how whether I guess maybe I'm not remembering it exactly the way it was written, but yeah, there was like I don't know, man. I didn't expect it to end the way it ended, and yeah, my heart like fluttered with pain when it did. Yeah, I mean, just the description of how it ended. You know what I'm saying? Like okay, definitely tune out if you're going to read this book for the next 15 seconds. When he's standing, he gets bit by the snake. He makes a choice to get bitten by a venomous snake, and then he just drops on his face in the sand. Like, that was horrifying to me because you're in love with this child this whole book,
Right.
and then that happens, and yeah, I thought it was a fantastic book. I am 100% going to reread it. Makes me want to brush up on my French so that I can read it in actual French,
Oh
because
man,
I can't imagine like how much better it is when in its native language.
that sounds great. I'll never be there, but or it seems unlikely at any time soon anyway. Yeah, I love it, and the movie is done remarkably well. Very much in keeping with the style, even though they build a larger story around it. And yeah, I mean, it can be sad, but the whole the philosophy and the message of it, and it's sort of that, I'm going to steal the Buddhistic thing from the last season of White Lotus, which is like it's the drop returning to the sea. Like
Hmm.
the energy's not gone. This life,
Right.
that's part of the whole point. Is just like all the joy that you had and all the love that you have for this boy. It doesn't go away when he goes away.
Right.
And he's not with you anymore. And that's it's just kind of a phenomenal way to look at things, and in a very healthy way, I think, celebratory and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I found it to be a very healthy read as well, and I feel like, oh man, I'm gonna have to reread it again. I know I just read it, but I'm gonna have to reread it because I remember thinking how it was a weird like mesh between like my thoughts and yours. You know what I mean? Like between, I don't know, like spirit. Like, I was reading it almost from a spirituality sort of perspective, but it's also just very philosophical. And
Yeah.
I don't know, just almost like a roadmap for being, you know what I mean? And which you wouldn't expect to find in a quote unquote children's book, you know what I mean? Well, I guess you would, but like it's usually like the hungry caterpillar type of thing, you know what I mean? Where it's not a lot behind it.
No, I think it. I think one of the things that makes it so effective is it's very blindsiding, right?
Uh-huh.
Like you come in and it starts off cute with like kids drawings and like this little tale about how the things we lose when we come into adulthood, and then it just hits you hard and repeatedly
Yeah.
with like these big truths, and you're like, whoa. My kids, I read it to them like when me and Jess got together, her older, the two boys that she already had, I read it to them and they were like, really young, 8 and 4, I think. And they could enjoy it, but on another level, you're reading it as an adult and you're like tearing up because you're getting all this metaphor and feeling that kids don't even have the experience to access, most of them.
I did look up the movie, and it just occurred to me that I didn't. I'll tell you right now. It was available on our. We have an app called Crave, which is a Canadian, conglomerate of things, and HBO is on it as well. And so they have the animated version, but it's in French. And it just occurred to me now, like, oh, I could probably watch it. Like my French isn't good enough to follow a French dialogue, for more than a couple minutes. But it just occurred to me now I could probably watch it with English subtitles. I'm not 100% on that, but so I haven't watched the movie yet, but it's definitely on my radar because I want to. I
Yeah,
really want
it's
to actually.
it's powerful. It's powerful. I really enjoy it, and like I wouldn't having it be basically. I think it's my favorite book, and having a movie made of it, it's very suspect,
Yeah, yeah.
especially with such a short, tight book. But yeah, they do a very nice job building it up. But we've probably talked enough about.
About the Little Prince, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We've already lost the one person who's listening to us now. All right, well, hey, do you want to fall in love, Skip?
I do. I want to fall in love. And I believe we're all the way up to number 7. Do you have a secret hunch about how you will die?
I have secret fears about how I will die,
Yeah, that
but
feels like a much more answerable question, doesn't it?
so yeah, yeah, yes. Well, I'll answer both though. Well, not a hunch, but no. So let me just answer. For a long, long time, I had like ever since I was a teenager, I just had it in my head that I was going to die at the age of 55, and I've carried that with me well into adulthood. It's only as I like screech closer and closer to 55, I'm like, well, maybe not 55, maybe a little bit later. But yeah, even when I was a child, I didn't think that, but my favorite number was 5, so maybe that has something to do with it. And it just, yeah. So I've always thought that. I found that like as I've gotten older though, and like I said, I don't want to die at 55. I've kind of for the first time got some traction and things that I'm doing, and things are really working out for me now. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay, no, now I really don't want to die at 55 because like I kind of just started. Like I'm almost a late bloomer in everything you can imagine, and I've just bloomed, and I don't want to wither away now because that's only 10 years away, right? And
Right.
that comes
Yeah.
fast. I mean, that might seem like a million years for when you're 20 years old, but man, that goes by quickly. But a secret, maybe fear of how I'm going to die. I deeply, deeply fear strokes. Like I'm terrified I'm going to have a stroke. There have been strokes on my maternal side from both my grandparents. My dad had one. So yeah, strokes is a fear of mine. I'm not taking a lot of preparation for it. I don't typically eat terrible anyway, but like, I mean, if you're predisposed to them genetically, like that's still a thing. I do worry about heart issues as well, but
Yeah.
nothing super specific, whether they be strokes or like heart issue. Those are the thoughts. And when I think about death, I'm like, yeah, that's probably how I'm going to go. But I really don't want it to be a stroke because a stroke, you might not die from that, but you might be just fucked up from it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want that at all.
That sounds pretty bad.
What about you?
Well, it's funny, as you talk and as you answer these questions, it always tends to make me think a little bit more deeply about them. So one of the things was you said I'd always thought this, and my hunch or my fear about how I'd die has changed as I've gotten older. So like when I was like 7 or 8, I was I honestly believed I was gonna die from combustion and like
Like spontaneous?
spontaneous combustion because I learned about it and it was just like terrifying that you could
Yeah.
like I learned about it and it's not like a thing that happens but like I learned about it in school. I learned about it in some like summer class that was like a mysteries thing at some summer camp, and just the idea that you could just burst into flames terrified me. And I'd just be like, I'm feeling hot. Oh my god, I can just feel it. I can feel it swelling within me. I'm gonna explode. But yeah, then as I got a little bit older, I think I said on here before, I had a real bad immune system when I was young and I was supposed to die before I was 18. So every time I'd get real sick, I'd be like, well, is this it? So I always had this hunch about kind of dying from something like that. And then as I got older, I just got healthier. So I'm in pretty good shape for a middle-aged guy now. But yeah, no, I don't have any particular hunch about how I die. Thelma and Louising into the Grand Canyon. I don't know. I think one of the things that I've talked about is like I've been pretty straight edge my whole life. I drink, but that's pretty much it. I've had like cigarettes when I was drinking when I was younger occasionally, or smoke shisha, like hookah, which is just flavored tobacco, when I was a little bit younger every once in a while. But I always said, like, if I got a terminal disease or something, when I get to be like falling apart, it's time to do all the drugs. So ODing in my 80s or 90s sounds like a good way to
Yeah, why
good way
not?
to
I
go.
mean,
No more damage. Just have all the good stuff.
unless you're having like a bad trip or something, that'd be the worst way to go.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, just experience everything right there at the end. Get all those good feelings. People seem to like them.
Yeah, no, I've done some stuff.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say, I guess that I'll admit, is when I was a teenager, I did mushrooms, magic mushrooms, a few times.
Yeah.
And oh man, this the one experience that I've had, and I've said this throughout my life because it was, there's research now to show like, oh, it opens up like pathways in your brain that you didn't have before, and it kind of reshapes things. I remember one time I was hallucinating in a horrifying way, and not it wasn't a bad trip, but I was just like very high, and again, I was very young. This wasn't like recent, so I was hallucinating, and I remember just I was sighing, like when you sigh when you're sad or whatever. I
Yeah.
was sighing with happiness. I was just like looking around, just like, oh man, everything is great. And I remember I was like, I have no questions. Like I understand the nature of existence. I understand the universe.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. It was clear as crystal to me, and it was perfect. And I was like, I get it. I get it all. I have reached actualization, and I get it. And then in the morning, I remember just like scratching my head, being like, "What was that answer again?" Like, and I just couldn't remember it, and it was just like right there at the edge of my mind, and I could not remember it. And to this day, it's gone.
Oh man. Yeah. So like it's funny that you mentioned that because psilocybin is actually, there's a lot of research, like you were saying, coming out and continually about the things that it does to you and the experiences that you have and the effects on depression and this different, and it's actually one of the only things that I'd be really interested in like trying a microdose on psilocybin, even though like I know everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people like pot, but I have a cousin that's allergic to pot. She didn't know that for a long time. And I've always, whenever I got like hotboxed with somebody, whenever I was just like around friends smoking, I'd
Yeah.
always get sick. And I think I'm allergic to it. So I'm
Ah,
probably not going to try that.
yeah.
But yeah, I'd try some psilocybin. I think that would be a really interesting experience. I mean, the way that they say to do it clinically is like with with a guide and to make
Right.
it a positive experience. And that sounds like an interesting experiment to me. Yeah,
Well, and you can microdose too. Like, I've never really
yeah,
done that, but like you can microdose and not actually, flip out or anything. Like you'll stay in control. You'll just be
yeah.
kind of in a really good mood, sort of thing.
And that's that's probably where I'd start. That sounds pretty good to me.
But the real good stuff, Skip, is when you're is when is when reality is warping around you. I remember looking at my eyes in the mirror and like they were black. Like my pupils were just completely dilated to the irises.
Well,
But
it's
yeah,
funny that
no,
you mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
I would say no. I probably wouldn't do it again. I've contemplated doing it very recently, actually, but like my only experience with it has been like a total loss of control because I took so much of it, so I don't really have an idea of like how to moderate that and how that would be, and I don't really want to lose that kind of control over myself again, and yeah, not really interested anymore. But the effects of them were at the time anyway were great, and I'm happy I did it when I was younger.
Well, it's funny that you said like you had this experience of, I guess, like enlightenment, and you had the answer. And I always I felt like I got that when I was walking across the country. I got that kind of feeling, and then you get off the road and all that peace and happiness and love and joy just starts to like slip away,
Hmm,
and you're like, I knew what it was. I had it. I had this feeling. I had this state of being that was so nice, and it just kind of slides away. And it's
right.
something that you want to hold on to. But yeah, I know that feeling on a much longer timeline than
Well,
the next morning.
yeah, no,
But yeah,
yeah, mine was euphoric, and then like I've never
yeah,
had that sort of like euphoric understanding of things before or since. But I will say, and I won't go into depth in this because maybe it could be a short at some point. But I've always known, like when I was, I kind of stopped believing in God when I was about 15 or so, 16,
yeah,
and I was just like a staunch atheist well into my 30s. Just like, no, it's stupid. Like I would mock religious and I would mock faith and belief and stuff. But
yeah,
even so, even with that mindset, I always knew that I would be happier if I believed in something. Like I think we're programmed to have a belief system, and if you don't have it, there's just a hole in you. And I understood that, and I
yeah,
still believe that actually. But even like I said, even being atheist and being unwilling, not even unwilling, just like I couldn't like accept a faith because I'm like I don't believe I don't believe in God, even though I know it would be good for me. But I understand like ignorance is bliss. That's how I kind of how I sort of chalked it up. Like the reason these people are happier is because they're like sheep and they're blindly following this thing. It wasn't until I had my little like turnaround just a few years ago. I'm like, okay, I believe in something. Not I don't believe in organized religion. Like there's no organized religion that I subscribe to. I don't believe in one God or anything like that.
yeah,
But I have faith now, and it's wiped away all my questions. And I mean, I guess you can say, well, that's just like you're not thinking critically anymore, and I guess I can understand that. But it's not even that so much. I'm not concerned with it anymore. Like I don't need the answers that I needed before, and I'm satisfied with that. And with that comes satisfaction in like everything else. And I'm not euphorically enlightened like I was when I was on mushrooms, but
yeah.
I feel enlightened to a degree, and I feel good. I think that's been a big help. I know that's been a big help for me just in the past few years.
Yeah, I always kind of considered religion when I was younger, especially. It was kind of like, well, yeah, we're programmed to want answers, you know.
Yeah.
So that's an easy way to get answers. But yeah, I think, you know, regardless of how you do it, what we're all, you know, whether you find God or whether you're spiritual or whether you try and answer it philosophically or with science or whatever, you know, I think ultimately there's no way of knowing. And the idea is coming to terms with that uncertainty and finding something that you're comfortable with inside the knowledge that you don't 100% know. And religion and philosophy and all those things are just tools to help us, like us poor animals that are able to think a little too much
Yeah.
and maybe sometimes not enough. but but like we're kind of in this terrible window there. Yeah.
I would say definitely more than sometimes not enough thinking,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, you said it perfectly. That's exactly right. Yeah, finding like ease in not knowing and being okay with that. And a good example was that I remember when I first started remote viewing, I for about 8-9 months, I was just completely confounded by it, and I struggled so hard because it was just in the face of everything that I had built upon. I'm like, no, this does not fucking make sense. And I was trying to explain it this way. How can this work scientifically? How can this? And it never made sense to me. And finally, I just accepted it, and like boom, like everything, the clouds parted. And I remember explaining it to my friend from high school. We were like best pals in school, and we kind of grew apart. And then he's gone into like weird woo woo type stuff also, but like nothing like the remote viewing sort of thing. Nothing that like really impacted him. But he
Yeah.
never for a moment like doubted what I was describing. But he wanted to know, he wanted to understand. And by the time he was asking me questions, he was like, "Yeah, but how? But how? But how? But how?" I'm like, "Man, I have no idea, and I don't care to know anymore." And he this is all in an email exchange or text or whatever. And he expressed it perfectly. He said it's hard to care about the mechanics of a bicycle when you're going downhill with your arms in the air, like just enjoying
Right.
the ride. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like, I don't care how it works anymore. Like, I accept it and let someone else figure it out if they can. Let them scratch their head or pound their face against the wall trying to solve it, because I don't need it. Like, I don't need that. I'm happy with my understanding of how everything works.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, this actually dovetails into I had asked you at one point about farming and your move out of farming, and you had said that it was because of, you know, kind of this experience. And, you know, you've sort of explained some of it, but how did that get you out of farming? I like, how did this whole experience interact with that whole experience to move you on, and how did it move you on? Because this was something I wanted to know.
So it didn't directly get me out of farming. It wasn't a direct influence, but it was an influence. And so remote viewing kind of opened the door for me to be okay with other things that didn't make sense. And so from there, I started looking into like astral projection and out of body experiences. And I came across a book by a guy named Robert Monroe. I think it's called Journeys Out of the Body. And he was a guy from like the 50s who he was a rich guy, and he started working on sound technology in order to help with learning. Like he was trying to apply it to schools or whatever. And while you're sleeping. So what he was doing was, I don't know if he developed it or not, but he popularized it for sure. So he was putting one frequency of sound, like just a tone in one ear, and then a different frequency of sound in your other ear. And the two combine to form a third tone that your brain synchronizes. Like the hemispheres of your brain synchronize into one sort of like hum.
Sure.
And he called it hemispheric synchronization or hemisync. That became like a company of his. But what he was doing was when he would go to bed with like headphones or whatever in his ears, and he was listening to it for the sake of learning, he had an accidental like out of body experience. And this was in the 50s. This wasn't even like, this was before hippies and all that stuff. And he was like, he thought
Right.
he was going crazy, and he didn't know what it was. Like in like the Far East, it's a common thing. Like people, they've described it for thousands of years, but he had no idea what it was. And it kept happening and kept happening and happening. Anyway, he became like the father of like the Western out of body experience. And he founded a whole company. And anyway, so I found like this, they called them the gateway tapes. And it's kind of like guided meditation / hypnosis. And he uses those tones in his ears, in your ears. And there's like a series of, I think it's like 8, there was like 8 CDs now. And it's not CDs anymore, but eight I don't know what you'd call them, volumes.
Tracks,
Yeah, well, no,
recordings.
there's like 64 tracks in
Yeah.
like eight volumes.
Okay.
Anyway, so I went through all of them. And in the beginning, I remember the first time I heard it, I just found something on YouTube and I just like put it on. And I was like, oh, I was washing dishes. I was like, I don't know what this is. I'm just going to put it on. And I was washing dishes and I was like, whoa, I have to like sit down because it like disoriented me. And they even say like, warning, don't do this while driving or don't do this while
Yeah.
operating machinery or whatever. And so I sat down and I was just like, what is this? This is bizarre. It was like affecting my balance and stuff. Then I really drilled down on the gateway tapes. And within the first volume, there's like 6 tracks per volume. I think so. What I was my objective was to go out of body. Like this guy went out of body, and this is kind of his pathway. That's what I want to do.
Mhm.
And even if you don't believe in that kind of thing, it's still effective. But so I was really like eager to do that. So you put on the headphones. You need headphones for them to work. And the first time you fall asleep. Like in so many. I've listened to them hundreds of times, and most of the time you just like pass out. You fall asleep. You can't fight it. Like you'll just fall asleep because that's just they say. In fact, they say, well, what we figured out is with these tones, we figured out how to put you to sleep. Now we got to figure out how to keep you awake in order to like do this sort of mental work. So every time I would fall asleep, I would re-listen to the track again. So I didn't move forward until I got through the whole thing because they kind of scaffold onto each other. But after about 3 days of listening to it, like the chatter in my brain was muted. Like I could think. It was weird. It was like, wow, I'm like focused and I could like
Yeah.
hear. And it was really, really, really weird. And I think that directly just like rewired some shit in my brain. And from there is when I was like, you know what? This isn't working. And
Right.
my ego has been stopping me from progressing in life. And so from there, I applied to Walmart. I applied to all these like jobs that I would never have done before. And one of them was the group home for teenagers that I had mentioned previously. Anyway, so that's really what it was. So remote viewing kind of opened the door for me to accept stuff that I wouldn't have accepted before. And then I started in the gateway tapes, and that I think physically changed something in my brain. And from there, it's just been positivity after that. Like I've never gone back to the way I was before. So that's long answer to this brief question you had. But so it wasn't remote viewing didn't actually stop me from farming, but it
Right.
made me okay with other things that
It
helped me progress forward.
helped the transition. Helped the transition out
It
of
did,
something
yeah,
that
yeah.
was going kind of not the way you needed it to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, definitely not going the way I needed it to. Yeah,
uh, like we do, we got way off topic of the secret hunch about how we'll die, and just thinking about some of that in line with some of the other things that you're talking about. Like we've been focused on kind of the manosphere and things like that, and I was thinking about a lot of people in the manosphere and how they're afraid they will die is probably alone, because there's all these there's incels and the machismo side and all these things, but kind of the thread that ties all those together is that this kind of lack of deep connection. And maybe this is all just like out of left field and shouldn't be tied to this, but it just kind of popped into my head while we were talking about this, that like my first response when you were like, how would you be afraid to die? It would be alone. Like that would be that's the first thing that I think of, like we've got cancer in my family and stuff, but alone is the worst. That's
right.
the worst way. So yeah, I don't know, what do you think about that? Like what do you think about do you think that these guys are thinking about that, or is it just a loneliness that kind of encroaches upon their lives, or what?
I think that we're all suffering from the human condition, which is, I mean, since we could think, I guess since we started developing society, I think we all started struggling with isolation and loneliness and sort of lack of purpose. And I mean, that's been around forever. I think only recently it's just being amped up. And I feel like the manosphere is like the worst representation of the human condition because these guys are suffering. I mean, they are suffering in the same way that most of us are. You know what I mean? But they don't. I don't think they understand it, and I don't think they understand its loneliness, and I don't think they understand that is a lack of connection. I think they gravitate toward connection like any human would, but I don't think they understand that like they are sort of the architect of their own misery. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
and in the same way that I was the architect of my own misery hammering and hammering, trying to make this stupid farming thing work, and it wasn't. And I just would not accept it. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I mean, I guess I don't have a good answer, but I do think that the the manosphere is a corruption of the human condition, which is already a corruption of like how we should be thinking in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I think the manosphere is a place where like people get disaffected, right? And I think part of the reason they get disaffected is out of fear, and out of fear of rejection, and out of fear of, loneliness is one thing, but being alone because nobody wants you is quite another. And and I think there's a lot of people that retreat, and it's very easy now. The manosphere makes it easy. There's a place where you can go without having to get outside of your bubble or moving, where you can complain about all the things that you're afraid of, that keep you out from going and making real human connections. But you're kind of making these small connections, and you're getting attached to these views and these people in these online spaces, but it's not really what you really crave. But there's no threat of rejection there,
Right.
and maybe that's what they're searching for. But I think you never quite get over that core loneliness. I don't know if you can hear my dog drinking, but I'm not alone.
No, I didn't. I
She,
heard like a sound, but I couldn't identify it.
yeah, she pushed her way in just a little while ago, and she's decided that she's going to be here podcasting with me.
You know, I think it's something that we really haven't talked about, but I wonder how much the internet itself has facilitated like this mushrooming of negativity in the manosphere. Because, I mean, men have always been dominant in society, like always, or at least Western society, and there's always been like abusive husbands and men who won't let their wives do this or jealous or whatever. That's always been. But there's some like irony in like the internet, I think, connecting everyone in this connectionless sort of mindset that we have. You know what I mean? Like they've strung these people together, and then these algorithms that have just evolved out of it all have just fed more and more of the same garbage to these people that are Googling these grievances that they have. You know what I mean? It's weird.
Yeah.
It's circular, you know?
Yeah, but there's also this aspect of it which is the anonymity. So like a guy, you would never go to like a community and be like, I beat my wife, or I'm, like this. But online, you can do that comfortably, and if people reject you, you just scrub that handle and become a new person, right?
Right.
And if you find a community of people that's like, yeah, or whatever, then it just feeds that. So there's these things that would absolutely never fly if the internet wasn't there, and if these toxic spaces didn't develop, that now they've developed to such a point where they're encroaching on actual society. They've sort of festered in the dark, and they've got their few voices that are able to make a lot of money off of making things worse, and they're bringing themselves out into the light of the day because there's a number of people that were caught up in their trap. And the funny thing is, there's just so much of this stuff. We think about women, we think about men, we think about minorities, we think about white people, we think about all these things, but a lot of it really is this deviation and this distraction from people that are really struggling, and the people that are oppressing them, and the people that are making all the money and extorting their views or corrupting their views so that they can make more money. But like all the people in the manosphere, for all the thing that Jordan Peters or whoever, Peterson or whatever his name is, for all the things that these guys are doing, making all this money, getting all this attention, broadening this coalition of people that are being kind of corrupted by these ideas, they're not getting anything out of it except misery.
They're going to the bank though, that's for sure, and they're making a ton of money, and again, it's that affirmation. They're just being fluffed up by all these, like, you see, all these guys agree with me, all these people. They don't even say guys. All these people agree with me. Therefore, what I'm doing is right.
I think I misspoke, but what I meant was not just those guys. Like those guys are getting plenty out of it. They're getting money and they're getting that power. But the people that are following them are getting nothing out of it. Misery. They're getting nothing out of it but misery. It's compounding their loneliness. It's compounding their anger. It's all a profit motive to make the people that supposedly like and follow you more fucking miserable.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because, this is the world. you're gonna go out and sometimes you're gonna get rejected by people, but like what people that are lonely need to do, and it's very hard. I'm not trying to trivialize like what it is. It's something that I don't even want to do. But like go join a club, go join a
Yeah.
thing, introduce yourself to people. I like I said a while ago, I wrote another adult friend of mine when I didn't know him because another friend said, I think you'd like this guy. And I was like, making friends as an adult is hard. Do you want to play games sometime? Or it's awkward or something like that.
Yeah.
And he responded, haha, yeah, okay, let's meet. I think a lot of it is this fear of rejection and being alone, and be like I said, being alone is one thing. Being alone and rejected is a lot harder. And these guys are getting taken in by these manosphere types when they really just need to go out and meet people, because all the research and all the studies say the thing that takes care of racism and misogyny and homophobia is like meeting people that are
Mhm.
different than you and being like, oh, they're not monsters. And I'm kind of a monster for thinking so. Yeah, just if you don't want to be alone, don't sit in a room alone and on the internet.
Yeah, get out the fucking internet is really what it comes down to, and
Yeah.
go meet people. You don't have to go to a bar. You can go join a club. Go have some hobbies. Really is what it maybe boils down to.
Let me ask you a little bit about how this podcast has affected your life, because I know you spend quite a bit of time on these recordings and stuff. And this past week I spent a lot of time, I was doing the show notes, listening to all these and kind of looking up links and things like that and writing some of the stuff. But you've been doing this every week for weeks and weeks and weeks. So how's this taking a toll with the new job and everything?
Well, it's work. I mean, it's definitely not as like before. I got a job, and I was still being pulled in a couple different directions because it was a big process, but I had more time on my hands, that's for sure. But I will say, like, I've found myself, just I guess being a little lighter. You know what I mean? Not that I'm not heavy or unhappy or anything, but I just find myself conversing more with people and thoughtfully conversing more with people, almost the same way that I'm engaging with you. Like I found myself doing that with other people now, which is not new. But before, I'm like, well, I'm not going to chit chat. Like I just don't feel like chit chatting. You know what I mean? But like I'm more okay with that than I was before. That's a big one. And editing, dude. Editing has been like a pain in the ass for sure, but it's been joyous because like you and I, we have an objective here. Like we're recording and we're chit chatting, but like we have to be mindful of like sounds and all that kind of stuff. But so I miss some things here and there. And when I'm editing, I'm really listening to how I enunciate, what I say. I'm listening to how you enunciate, how you say. Like I want to, I cut some of the redundancies, and I'm just really listening.
Yeah.
And not that I'm not listening to you right now, but I hear you again, and then I hear you at least a third time. So like this, I like each show for me is I edit it or I listen to it once live, and then there's at least two more times that I listen to it closely, very closely. So a big I think without that too, this would be a lot less joyous because what we're doing here is great. When I really drill down, I'm like, oh man, there's like an affection for you that I didn't have before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's because I'm really listening to you. And man, I wish like we could all just replay our own conversations because yeah, it's really nice. It's a really positive change for me. So yeah. How about you, man? Have you noticed anything? I know I'm putting you on the spot because you didn't
Oh
prepare for
yeah.
this.
Yeah, I have. And actually, like, as always, listening to you kind of opens up some of those things that maybe I was like, well, I don't know. But then, then you start talking, I'm like, oh, he's wise. You said you've been conversing. One of the things is that my wife's been listening to the episodes, and she's like, oh man, it reminds me of the conversations that we had when we were dating, and for the first few years of our marriage, where we were learning about each other and talking about things. And man, I miss that. And I was like, yeah, I miss that too. Like, but it's hard. Like, we live the same life. We live in the same house. We have the same kids. We deal with the same things. And it's like, what's new under the sun? So yeah, we're trying to find some of those questions again, and some of those, not just the same 36 questions, but talking about some of the things that we, I don't know, haven't discussed in a while. And it's interesting. And spending the time, because I'm also listening to these a couple times. I usually listen to it when we do it, and then when you send me an edit, I listen to it, and sometimes I listen to it on whenever we release it as well. So sometimes three times, but at double speed on the second too. But yeah, it's nice. Like I again, I feel that connection to you, and it's warm. It's nice. I think about you as more a part of my day now. I like I'll be going through my day, and I'm like, oh, I want to talk to Carlos about, like, as our little outline sketches for this are getting longer and longer
Yes,
because
they
there's
are.
just so many things we want to talk about,
Yeah.
which is really nice. It's like a really nice feeling because for a long time when I've been out with people or when I've met with people, it's like, oh, I gotta same thing. I've got to make small talk. What am I gonna do? And I used to be really good at it, and it's not that I want small talk. I want to have real talk and a connection, and that's a skill that we're practicing here
Yeah.
that I've really missed, and it's really nice to have that experience. So yeah, I don't know. Like, if you're lonely out there, reach out, find somebody that's willing. And not everybody is. And try not to take it too personally. And it's not always going to click. But, like, for whatever reason, when I met you, and again, when I reached out, everything just kind of went the right way. So that's been really nice.
And I think the bottom line is that you have to try. You have to put in the work because you've got a busy life. I've got a busy life. Like we have families and we have shit going on, and we both pause every Tuesday or whenever we can to do our recordings and have our conversations. And I mean, you could regard that as work, I guess, but like it's checking in with a friend and maintaining a healthy relationship with that person. You know what I mean? It's just it doesn't come, not that it doesn't come naturally, but it doesn't come without any effort. You have to try. One other thing I wanted to say though that I thought about, I don't think I noted it anywhere, is having these conversations. It satisfies like a need to be heard, and I don't mean by an audience. I mean by like you, because you're
Yeah.
listening to what I'm saying. And not that like Jody doesn't or the people around me don't listen, but like you're drilled in on what I'm saying and you're listening closely. And I got shit to say. You have shit to say. We all have things to say, and it's nice to have someone listening. And yeah, I don't know. I feel heard is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I'm very glad. I was gonna make a joke about, like, sorry, I wasn't paying attention, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Yeah, and I've enjoyed learning more about you and thinking about how you think and your perspective has been really nice. And I feel myself much lighter, and it's much nicer to have another connection in this world. And I go throughout my day, and whether I believe in it or not, I'm manifesting and doing affirmations, and it is a good thing. I like it, and it feels nice, whether I take it seriously or whether it's a fun thing to do or whatever. I'm enjoying it, and it's lightening my life, and I appreciate that. So I wanted to come back. We talk about the manosphere so much and some of the negativity and the bad things coming out of it, but I wanted to come up. You'd mentioned Man of the Week at some point, or we could do Look for the Helpers, whatever we're going to call this. But I had a nominee for this week, and it's Victor Schwartz, who's not a famous person, but people might know who he is once I put it into context. He is the lead plaintiff in the case about the illegality of tariffs that was just upheld this week. And of course, we record in advance, so this will be a couple weeks ago by the time people listen to it. But I'll just read a quote from what he said, and it's: "The administration is known for being vengeful, and we're a heavily regulated business. We have a lot of business in front of the government." I'll take a little aside here to say he's a wine distributor, so he's got alcohol coming in and out of the country and things like that. Um, where where there's important FDA rules, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, label requirements. So it's like, well, should I do this? Should I not? I don't really want to stick my neck out. And then I thought about all these billionaires that I'm so pissed off about doing nothing. We're all sitting around, we're all complaining, we're all saying, "Hey, what can we do about this? What can I do?" everyone is feeling powerless. And I said, this just landed on my plate. I don't want to if I don't step up, how can I expect anyone else to? And I just felt it was incumbent upon me to do so and let the chips fall where they may. And the guy's name is Victor Schwartz. He's the lead case in this, or the lead name in this tariffs thing. And basically, he didn't go out to find this. He was complaining about it, and some lawyers were going to court, and they asked him if he would be the lead name on the suit, and he was like, "Oh, geez, gosh, okay." And I just, we talk about manliness, and we talk about lifting heavy things, and we talk about being traditional or non-traditional or finding religion or whatever. And this guy embodies, whether you agree with him politically or not, it's very brave, and it's very, in his view at least, it's very selfless. Like, he is the one, him and his family are the ones that are likely to get hit from this, that are likely to get retribution. And he's saying, well, shit, I want the world to be a better place, and this opportunity came to me, and it could be really bad for me, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's hurting a lot of people, it's hurting a lot of businesses, it's hurting a lot of families, and I should stand up. And I thought that's like a really, in quote unquote manly thing to do. If we're looking for those positive versions of masculinity, he might not be buff, he might not have a lot of chicks, but but like, he's brave and selfless. And what better version of a man is there?
Yeah, I agree, and you reminded me earlier when we were talking about these influencers who are just spewing toxicity into their audience. It reminded a thought that I've had for a long time, and it's kind of changed because now we have influencers that aren't super rich. They're rich now, but they're not like super super rich, like billionaires. But the thought that you reminded me of was how for so long, we're blaming minority, not we, but like people, the majority are blaming minorities, or they're blaming immigrants, or they're blaming this, they're blaming people who take from the government via like welfare, when really they should be focusing on the people, the real thieves. And I always said this before, but I feel like it's worth saying every single episode. The real thieves are the people that aren't paying their taxes, that have tax havens, and that they're taking billions and billions and billions of dollars out of the American economy, where I mean, that could fund so many things. I mean, there does not have to be problems, economic problems in the U.S. if people would just pay their taxes fairly. Anyway, and so you reminded me, a contrast to that is this guy, Victor Schwartz, because where most of these rich guys are just like, and I'm not saying he's not doing it either, but most of these rich people they're fine, hoarding all their cash and then like turning us on each other. This person is maybe doing that. I don't know, but he's definitely putting himself front and center as a very, very large target for a very vindictive administration. And that's not politics. I mean, Trump has admitted to that very thing. Like he is retribution. He is embodied, you know what I mean? And yeah, and I'd like to think that this Victor Schwartz I had never heard of him before you brought him up, is acknowledging that he has a much bigger shield than, say, you or I. All these other people are asking us to get out there. Like, what are you going to do about it? It's like, no, man,
Right.
what are you going to do about it? You have the big guns. We have nothing. Literally, we have nothing. You're in a much better position to deflect all the onslaught of what's to come. You know what I mean? We'll get punished if we stick our necks out, but you're doing that because it'll be a lot less for something like that. And I admire and I appreciate that. I mean, I don't think billionaires should exist personally, but if they're going to, be like Victor Schwartz, for God's sake.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's a billionaire, so he's just a
You had
business
mentioned
guy.
you had mentioned billions, so that's what I
No,
thought. That's what I thought you were.
he was mentioning how pissed off he was at billionaires. So you're
Wow.
sort of echoing him. And I do think, like, I had mentioned this before, but like, for people that don't, that people that kind of idolize billionaires, or their success, and they've done so much to earn this. Like, if you were to earn $10,000 cash a day, that's a lot of money. I think everybody that's listening to this podcast can agree with that. Like, it would take you 100 days to earn $1 million, and that'd be great. But it would take you 274 years to become a billionaire.
Right.
So there's no way that these guys are like, and that's for $1 billion.
Right.
There's no way that somebody is 274 million years of $10,000 a day work, doing that much work or that much effort or that much worthiness more than other people, like more than somebody that's doing literally any other job.
Right.
There's just no way. And when you consider, like, if you were to get, and none of these guys are getting this low of interest, if you were getting just 5% interest a year on that, that's $50 million. That's a million. You could spend $1 million a week and basically never touch that billion. So you literally, comes a point where it's actually fucking hard to lose money. It's
Yeah.
hard not to become, there's an inflection point to where, like, I remember when we've talked about it, when I was poor and I was trying to scrape together pennies to get like food. But there's somewhere between that and comfort and saving, there's some inflection point where it's actually hard to fail. And these guys are not working hard. They're not earning it. They're not doing anything for it. And they're certainly not doing more than people that are working hard jobs.
Right.
So yeah, I think just kind of, it's something that I'd really love if I could influence people to do one thing. It'd be to stop looking at everybody else as your enemies, and just like, there's a select, very few number of people on this planet that absolutely are leeches. And a lot of them are in the White House and around the White House, which is, not to get, again, not to get too political. That's not saying anything about policy. That's just like monetary, stacking the deck against everybody else. Yeah.
It's funny that you fact checked yourself, because I remember, I think during editing, and you had said something like, if you earn $1,000 an hour for the rest of your life, you'll never be a billionaire. And I was like, I don't know, Skip. So I did the math as well, and I was like, damn, he's right. That's you'll never be a billionaire. $1,000 an hour. Can you imagine that?
$1,000 an hour.
Yeah, and I did it full time, and I didn't. I mean, I did the math as a full time employee for like, the full year. I think I took 2 weeks off or something like that, and it was, you're not going to make, you're never going to make $1 billion. Yeah, for your whole life.
An inconceivable amount of money.
Yeah, which is why, like, taxing it sounds like a lot. You tax a billionaire at 90%, they're still going to be fucking rich, very, very rich, and there'll be so much money into schools. You put iPads in every classroom. Like, there's so much money that can be infused into programs. Well, now not anymore. They're being like stripped away. But yeah, there's so much money in the United States, and it's all at the top.
Yeah, and I think what it really exposes, like, for me, when you put it in those terms of, like, I could spend $1 million, I could spend $1 million a week if I had $1 billion, and I would only still earn money. Like, I would only earn money. My net worth would only go up because not only is the interest going to be more than 5% at that level, but you're going to inevitably buy things that are worth value. So your net worth is only going to go up continually, spending $1 million a week. So I personally, I agree. I think billionaires shouldn't exist. One of the things that I think it displays, that understanding, is how broken these people are. Like, there's literally nothing to be gained by hoarding all this wealth and trying to squeeze it out of all of your employees and all of your customers and everything that you can. There's nothing that you, unless you're going to buy Twitter and ruin it. Like, there's nothing that you can't buy for $1 billion. There just isn't. Like, there's no point in this other than being a profoundly broken person. That's something that's, if this was anything else, it'd be hoarding. It'd be like an unhealthy, crazy thing that we would involuntarily hospitalize people for acting like this if it were anything other than money.
Yeah.
But it is money. So we're like, oh, they're great.
Well, it's aspirational. Have you ever seen Capitalism Love Story?
No,
Oh, dude, you should watch that. It might be out of date now. I think it came out in like 2006. But yeah, it's a Michael Moore documentary. It's really, really good. But
maybe I did a long time ago then. Maybe.
I can't imagine you haven't seen it. But anyway, he has like this one scene where it's showing like a dog continuously jumping. You just see the dog's head trying to get to the table because it wants like a scrap from the plate. And he's comparing that to like the American population. Like, we are the dog jumping at the billionaires' dinner plate, hoping we're going to get a strap. And that's why we support them, because we're like, well, maybe one day. No, I don't want these high taxes, because one day when I'm a billionaire, I don't want to have to pay these 90%. It's like you're never going to be a billionaire. You're never going to be a millionaire, likely. You know what I mean? Like it's unlikely that that's going to happen for you. And that's not being negative. That's just like it's unusual to be that rich. Yeah. So it is in your interest to tax these motherfuckers so that we can all like have fucking medical insurance.
Well, I've said this to Jess. Jess and I have agreed on this. We've talked about it many times. Like, I think once you hit $1 billion in net worth, we give you a big plaque. It says you win capitalism. Congratulations. But everything after that billion is no longer yours. It all has to go somewhere else. You don't get to keep any of it. If you get to $1 billion, great. Congratulations. You won capitalism. And now everything that you earn, because there's clearly something broken about you, like and you just have to continue to amass this amount. That's fine. You get to earn it. You get to add to your high score, but it's going to charity, or it's going to taxes, or it's going to build a hospital, or something useful, because these guys aren't doing anything useful with this money for the most part. There are some people that are starting to contribute back. We talked about, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and stuff like this. They're still going to have billions of dollars by the time they give away 90%, 99% of their money. They're set. Everyone they know is set forever. In some aspects, and not even talking politically, the thing that's happened with Elon Musk's net worth and managing to lose $100 billion plus or whatever it is, that's actually an amazing amount of skill to lose that much money, and not in a positive way.
Right.
Like you have to be colossally inept to do that.
And he's still the richest man in the world.
Oh yeah, he's still the richest man on the. But it takes an amazing lack of ability or something. Like you have to actually be trying to do that. Like you couldn't do that if you wanted to, almost.
But he could keep doing what he's doing for the foreseeable future and still be stinking rich. I mean,
that's right.
Yeah, I mean he doesn't have to stop. He can plunge Tesla into the ground. He can plunge Twitter into the ground. PayPal, I don't know if he still has a stake in PayPal, but like everything that he's started, he can just crash it now if he wants to.
Yeah, and he'll still have all the money in the world. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot of anger. I don't know how to connect that though. You know what I mean? Like I guess if we all join hands, men, women, non-binary alike, raise our pitchforks and our torches and
well, yeah, no, I was listening to a political podcast today, or a news podcast, where they were analyzing the shift to Trump and how it's mostly about class. It's mostly people that are low earners, that are moving towards him because they genuinely believe there's an opportunity there. And then, they're talking about, oh, so what does the left do about this? Well, there's these populist people, AOC and Bernie and things like that. And the thing that's always struck me about, because they, Trump's a populist, Bernie's a populist, they call them populists, and which just means like you're representing the common person. Like, do you fundamentally not fucking understand democracy? That's what we're fucking here for. Populism shouldn't be a dirty word. Like, we should be representing the common people. We should be like this. Why are you turning your back on this and being like, oh, because there's a lot of rich donors or whatever. But in any case, like, embrace the populism that's actually attacking the problem, not the populism that's helping the problem get entrenched and steal the money out of their pockets.
But I did want to ask, and we're like, I mean, it's like been some time since Kamala Harris lost, but I wonder what you think about the manosphere and her loss, because she seemed to me, when she was running for the primary in, what was it, 2018, she was out of her depth. I think I don't think that she was a good candidate. She would have been a good candidate, and then she ended up dropping out pretty early. But after spending 4 years as vice president, she was ready for the job. I thought, like, I thought she did great for preparation and everything. She was, or she is extremely intelligent. She's well spoken. She's very qualified, and she smashed, I think, Donald Trump at that one debate that they had. Like, it was, I don't know, I guess you can't say objectively won, but like, I think it was, everyone was in full agreement that she won that, but she lost. I mean, she lost by a lot, I think. What do you think about that?
Well, there's two different things happening, right? So one measure is, will they be a good president? And the other measure is, are they good at running a campaign?
Mhm.
And I would argue that both her and Joe Biden, and honestly most Democrats, are pretty terrible at running campaigns. But they're actually pretty good at governing. They're not showy. And Biden, for all accounts, and I will be there, he was sleepy. He was, he didn't like communicate well, he didn't present well. But if you look at the record of what he did, he got a lot done for a guy that was not even his age, but in the partisan situation that he was in. Like him and his team, I can give a lot of points to the other side for saying like, oh, how much of it was him or whatever, but it doesn't matter ultimately. Like on some things, like they got a lot done and they were
Mhm.
able to do a lot. And I think Kamala is kind of the same way, where I think you're right. And even before, I think she might have been fine, but like she was never a particularly good campaigner. And in the first time that she ran, if I recall, her sister was her campaign manager, which is probably not the best choice. And I think if she had gotten somebody better to run her campaign and to have longer to do it, then who knows? But yeah, I think there's a difference between the qualifications for a job and the ability to nail the interview with the American people.
Right. Yeah, and I agree, but I do think, I mean, I was kind of setting you up to say this, but I do think it was a, gender and personality, maybe some
Oh,
race aspects to it too, because I mean, she is a woman. She's a dark skinned woman. She's not an old white man, which is what the
yeah.
country has been used to for its entirety, except for Barack Obama, which arguably this whole rise of the right, you can source right to that, to 2008 when he
Oh,
became president.
100%. I mean, I remember being over here at the time, and I remembered the country that I'd left, and I was in Czech Republic, and I fervently didn't believe that he could, a guy named Barack Hussein Obama, who's not white, get elected in the U.S. I was never more pleased to be wrong. But it blew my mind that it could happen. It totally confounded me. And I remember I was walking across the US when all that stuff happened, and it was a really amazing thing. But then you had the Freedom Caucus and all these things, and that are like they're directly like Trump being the birther movement. That's how he got like really into politics and all this
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's a direct result, and it's like not saying that we would be better off in another situation. Like these are clearly some wounds in our nation that need some air that we have to deal with one way or the other, and just ignoring them isn't the way to do it. So at the very least, all these things have been kind of exposed, and we see where we're at. I think people have been in bubbles for a long time, and like it's so easy to look at the people around you and be like, "Oh, that's not what the country's like." But now you can see it. Like it's okay, whatever I think, whatever my experiences are, this is who we are as a country, and that's something we need to reckon with. And the manosphere is part of that. You're
Yeah.
right. Like when you said you were setting me up to talk about she's a woman, she's a minority, like those are so obvious that I didn't even. It almost doesn't bear commentary.
Yeah, but it's not
You know?
obvious to a lot of people, though. That's the
Yeah,
thing. Is
yeah,
is,
yeah,
is some
yeah.
people are like, no, they're intuitively, moving through the world, and they don't realize, like, oh no, they're reacting to something that they didn't realize they were reacting to, to an inherent sort of bias that they might have. We all have them. I have them,
Yeah.
but like it's important to recognize them, and then you're like, oh yeah, I have no reason to feel that way about this person, or I have no reason to think that about this group or whatever.
Well, yeah, and I mean, even the question like, what did I think about Kamala as a candidate? Well, there's a bunch of other people that ran, and I could say the same thing about many of them, like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
You know, she happened to be the vice president, so so like that's why we're talking about her specifically.
Well, and
Um,
then she became
and
then she became
yeah,
the candidate. Yeah.
exactly. Right, right, right. But I don't mean to like pick on like when I say I don't think she ran a great campaign. I could say the same thing about several male candidates. I don't want to like
Right.
I don't want people running away with that thinking that I'm saying that because it's gendered or whatever. I think there's actual like hard data points to kind of get behind that. But yeah, I think we got a little bit of work to do. Let's do that work.
Nah, we figured it out. It's fine.
Okay, good.
All right, my friend. Well, what's bringing you joy this week?
So I think I talked about this on a previous one, but I had set a goal, and maybe I didn't. I had set a goal to snuggle with my 14-year-old son, not to like snuggle like real, but just to like cuddle a little bit. So some physical affection beyond just like a fleeting hug, because I love doing that with my little one, the 8-year-old, because he's so small and they're so it's so
Yeah.
natural, and then we lose that as we get older. But I think it's something we still crave. And I was thinking about like, oh yeah, these guys that are in MMA or whatever, where it's all like there's a lot of other things going on as well, but like there's an excuse for like roughhousing and physical touch and stuff like that. But I don't want to roughhouse with him because he's 6'4". So yeah, I cuddled him. I cuddled with him while we watched some The Last of Us, and it was awkward. It was like a teen date where we were both we were both like stiff, and like you're like paying attention to your breathing and stuff, but we both wanted to have that connection. And
Yeah.
so I did that, and I feel good about doing that, and hopefully I'll do it again and it won't be so uncomfortable, and we'll just learn to be men who can be affectionate in a
Did you?
nice healthy way.
Was it like an arm around his shoulder while you guys were watching TV, or what do you mean?
So we've got one of those IKEA couches where it unfolds and it's like a big kind of bed, and we all like lay on the couch with our legs out and our against the back of it so we can
Mhm.
stretch out our legs, and we're just like kind of leaning onto each other, leaning and hugging your arm around each other like I do with my wife or my young son. And so it was just like that. But yeah, it's just like kind of stiff and awkward, but it was sweet, and I'm hoping to make it less stiff and awkward in the future and just like relax and show love and affection to my son in a way that maybe is not manosphere sanctioned, but is nice, and so that when I get older, I can give him a hug and have physical affection without feeling weird
Yeah.
and being constantly distant in the way that his mom isn't.
Did he, did he know you were that you were trying to introduce this sort of new thought process into the relationship, or was it
No,
just like,
no, he was just like I had already watched the episode because he was in Italy, and he was like, I was like, do you want to watch it by yourself or do you want me here? I was like, I've already seen it. I've got other stuff I can do. And he's like, no, I'd like you here. And I was like, okay, but on the condition that you cuddle with me for a little bit while you watch it. And he was like, oh yeah. So he was all for it. He's not like we were awkward about it, but I think it's just because we don't do it. But he clearly was craving that connection too.
that's
So
good?
yeah, so I feel like that's a good thing, and it's a road, it's a path I'm on, it's a journey. How about you? What's bringing you joy this week?
So when I was hired by the ambulance company here, the two I did send you the picture. The two were I had a preceptor. She basically my teacher during my student time when I was on the trucks. She had two regular partners,
Hmm.
and one of them was another woman, and I would make jokes that I would call them my work moms.
Hmm.
And just a really good relationship. We had a lot of fun on the trucks, and they're both. It's funny. I call them my work moms. They're both 15 years younger than me. Um, yeah. So when I graduated, my college had posted a picture of like the graduating class. Or not graduated. When I was hired, my college had posted a picture of hirings from my college on Instagram. And so they'd seen it before I did, I got a text message from one of them, and it was a picture of them. They had taken a selfie, and they were holding a phone between one of their phones between them, and it was like a close up of me in that picture of the college hires, and it was just such a sweet gesture and picture, and I really, it's my favorite picture. I'm probably going to print it out at some point and have it up somewhere. I love it, and it was just really nice. And they're both in their uniform, and they were clearly sitting in the truck with the ambulance. And so that kind of ties into another joy, though, is I'm terrified of Facebook because of how nasty it's become. Like there was a time when I would get baited into like nastiness, and I would like defend people or like argue. I don't do that anymore. But I don't even ask questions on Facebook. Like if I have like, hey, what does anybody know where the best blah blah whatever? I don't even do that anymore because people just pounce on shit like that. There's always something nasty that somebody has to say over something that isn't even, you shouldn't even have an opinion on. It's just like, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm like, Facebook has scared me for a long time. So I'm largely inactive on Facebook. I'll occasionally post an article, like oftentimes political, and generally that's on my personal profile, and people don't usually, they're not nasty in that, but I don't engage with like outer stuff. Anyway, we had said before, a few episodes ago, how we mistake social media for like our relationships. Like, oh, like I know, like my buddy Chris, I know what he's doing, and I see he's posting about his kids, and he's working on like an album, and this, like I know so much about these people that I feel like I'm keeping up with them, but I'm absent in their lives. They don't know anything about me. So I mean, at the risk of like feeling like, oh, I'm being social, I posted I posted this podcast. I announced to everyone quite shyly that that we're doing this, and I put a link to it, and on our Facebook, we have a Facebook page now.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think I knew
type
that.
in.
I think I knew that one.
Well, yeah, it wasn't really like, I mean, we don't really have any followers now, but it wasn't really like a advertised sort of thing, and we're not like advertising now like with money or anything, but just like I didn't announce it. Anyway, outside the manosphere, just type that into the search on Facebook. But anyway, so I posted that. So that's live now, and that was like a life update for me and for you in a way. You have a different set of friends than I tagged you in. And then I posted a series of pictures from my hiring because that had happened weeks ago now, but I hadn't said anything, and including one of the two ladies. And I don't know, man. I just like, it feels good for, to get the likes and the hearts and all that stuff, and people to comment. It does feel good. But it's just nice. I'm happy to like share something of myself and not be like, no, because what if, or this is going to look stupid, or this is, you know what I mean? Like, just I'm happy to share a little bit because I do have people that care about me on those things, and like I've just been withholding so much. I'll post something in personal, so they know my opinion on something, but they don't really know what's going on in my life. So yeah, that was a joyous thing for me. The picture with the two women was really joyous, and then sort of stepping back into, I don't know, not the spotlight, but just giving a little bit of information about myself and having a positive response to it was pleasant.
Yeah, it's all about connection, right? Reaching out for that connection, I guess.
Yeah, and not being afraid of it, and not worrying about the consequences. And not that I was posting anything controversial, but it was just, it was personal.
And those pictures are great. You sent them to me, and we were in the park, and I was enjoying them, looking through them, and seeing Jody. I haven't seen Jody in years.
Yeah. I posted. I posted. Oh, I didn't post any of her, but I sent them to you because, and I sent you our house because you hadn't seen that before. And same thing. Same thing is like, we talk and we talk and we talk, but there's a lot going on that you don't see. You know what I mean? And vice versa. Right. I think you would send me a picture of you, and I hadn't seen Jess for a while either, other than when we reconnected on here. But you would send me a picture of her, and your youngest, I think, was in there, and then you would send me a kind of a selfie of you at some point, and it was just nice to see all that.
Yeah. She was not happy with that picture, but but I sent it. Thanks for joining us, everyone. New podcasts every week. If any part of this show has resonated with you, let us know at outsidethemanosphere@gmail.com. And please like, rate, subscribe to the podcast, or recommend us to a friend. We hope you'll come back. Look out for our future bonus episode on Pee-wee's Big Holiday, where Carlos and I will watch the movie and discuss it as is related to manliness and male relationships and the manosphere.